In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal a shocking truth about learning to weld that the big, expensive welding schools and the government would do anything to keep you from knowing about. And teach you, as unbelievable as this sounds, how you can fabricate amazing things like motorcycles, barbecue pits, hot rods, trailers, ornamental designs, and actually start making that much-awaited welding project you've been waiting to work on. Without buying expensive tools, without having your own welding shop, you can actually learn from the comfort of your own home and without being an expert welder. And you can do this just by using an inexpensive welder that you can get from Home Depot. So if you've been thinking about learning to weld as a hobby, a career, or to make extra money on the side, double guessing whether you have what it takes to learn how to weld, and not doing something that brings you lots of satisfaction because you haven't taken that next step, then this video, which won't be up for long, is going to change your life forever. Who am I to make such a big promise? Like I said, my name is Garret Strong, and over the last several years, I've helped hundreds of people just like you start welding from home in their spare time, fabricating projects they're passionate about, and even making cash to pay bills. And I'm going to reveal to you how to weld using a simple and inexpensive MIG welder like the one you see here. But first, let me tell you my story and why I care so deeply about helping you learn how to weld. There was a time not long ago when I had no experience with welding and metalwork. Ever since I thought about welding as a hobby and even as a career, I've somehow always found myself making excuses as to why I couldn't learn to weld and fabricate with my own hands. Sometimes I would get the urge to just create something from scratch with my hands, but I had no clue how to start. I hated that I was putting it on the back burner and making excuses when I knew how much I loved the thought of learning to weld and build stuff. I thought I couldn't afford the welding equipment, and I thought that you actually had to go to school to be able to weld stuff like a seasoned pro. I never even tried because my thoughts kept getting in the way. 5 years ago, I wanted nothing more than to have fun doing something that I loved, and to make money doing it made it sound even better. Then one day a miracle happened. I remember it like it was yesterday. I had thought about it enough, and I was dead tired of just thinking. I needed to do something before I made another excuse. I stumbled upon something that totally opened my eyes. From that moment on, I never worried about me being a beginner. I never worried about feeling like I couldn't learn to weld, and I never worried about not having enough money to afford welding equipment. I discovered an amazing truth. I discovered something that the trade schools and the government would do anything to keep you from knowing about. I discovered that you can learn to weld from your home in as little as 1 hour with very little money. And I also discovered that the opportunities to make money welding are amazingly huge right now. Just look at what the American Welding Society had to say. They wrote in an article recently that the baby boomer generation is causing a spike in the number of welders retiring. Unfortunately, there are far fewer welding students coming in to replace them. Now, this might sound crazy, but the last time I checked, pipeline welders were making $60 to $85 per hour, and when you add it up, they're making a doctor's salary just to weld up pipe. And if you've thought about learning to weld and even making money doing it, but you haven't taken that next step, just know that it's not your fault. After all, it took me a while to convince myself that I had what it takes to learn how to weld, and the truth is that you can quickly and easily learn to weld from home in no time. So if you're considering welding school, consider this. Welding school can cost upwards of $20,000 just to attend, and it'll usually take an average of about 2 years to complete. Most people don't have the time or the money to afford that, but the cost to learn how to weld at home can start at just $200. Once I discovered this information, for the first time in 5 years, I was feeling good about my life and my opportunities. For the first time in 5 years, I wasn't putting my life on the back burner, and I was finally doing something that I knew I would love, and that I could make money from if I chose to. And it wasn't because of some 2-year welding school that would drain me of my time and money. It was about a real skill I could learn from home that I could feel good about doing. At first I wasn't sure how I was going to make this happen, but the truth is, this magic bullet actually saved me, and it gave me a passion that I've always dreamed of having. So what was this secret that allowed me to start welding in just 1 hour? Well, it's something I came across while reading a welding forum one day. I heard that many people learn to weld from home, and it seemed like a much more logical idea when considering the price of attending a school that will teach you the same skills you'll learn at home. So I took the leap and I bought an inexpensive MIG welder from Home Depot. This was a simple idea that allowed me to start welding from the comfort of my own home. that let me learn at my own pace in my own environment and not having to pay for expensive schooling that teaches the exact same thing. I continued to read the forum, and they talked about how because of the advances in welding and the affordable welding machines available today, any Joe Blow can buy a welder from Home Depot and be welding at home in less than an hour. And it turns out that anybody can do this, even you. Why? Because it all goes back to how easy, inexpensive, and user-friendly welding machines have gotten today. The days of paying $1,000 just to own a welder are over, and they've made available $200 welding machines that can weld just as good as one of those high-priced machines. And if you're looking to make big money with your welder, keep this in mind. Multi-millions have been made by many people in the welding and fabrication industry, including the owners of one of the most famous motorcycle shops in the world, Paul Tuttle and Paul Tuttle Jr. from the Discovery Channel show Orange County Choppers. So I don't think there's ever been a better time to learn how to weld. As soon as I learned to weld on my very first MIG welder, amazing things started to happen. Suddenly I was able to make awesome stuff like a barbecue pit for cookouts, an amazing deer stand, an awesome table, and now I'm constantly showing off my completed projects to my friends, who are very envious, by the way. When I shared my methods with my friends, the results were amazing. I shared my welding secrets with a few friends of mine who were curious how in the hell I could go from being a complete beginner to fabricating cool stuff in such a short time. They literally couldn't believe it, but I told them that anybody can do it, and that their mindset was the only thing standing in their way. After a little convincing, I taught them what I had learned and all the secrets that allowed me to weld like a pro, and they couldn't believe it. The next week they were texting me photos of their finished welding projects, a new bumper, a new trailer, a cooler rack, and more cool projects. Time and time again, I've seen this work for people, and they can't believe that they can actually weld on their own. And I'm willing to bet if you go and buy a $200 MIG welder, after you finish watching this video, you'll learn how to weld like a pro, and you can even make cash doing it, just like thousands of people have done before. You will make that awesome project you've been foaming at the mouth to make. You will master a skill that employers will pay big bucks for. You'll do something that you truly feel a sense of accomplishment with, and you'll put more cash in your pocket. That's the good news. Now, here's the bad news. The bad news is that while I discovered how to weld like a pro and make money welding, you can't just start welding on your own and expect to set up your equipment properly, make quality welds, or make killer projects. Even though you might be able to pull the trigger on a MIG gun and start an arc doesn't make you a good welder. In fact, it actually makes you a dangerous welder because there are a host of things that could go wrong. Before you actually join two pieces of metal, learning to set up your machine properly, fit up the metal, proper fabrication techniques, cleaning your metal, and a lot more will save you tons of time making mistakes on your own. When I first started out, I thought I would just practice a little, maybe weld some projects on the side for cash, and maybe even try to land a job welding. But boy was I wrong. It took me several years of trial and error to find out how to really make good welds and fabricate something so that it was not only as strong as possible, but looked good too. And eventually I discovered the best way to fabricate and make sound welds. That's helped me make hundreds of welding projects and even make money on the side. That's helped over 500 people start welding in their spare time at home, making extra cash and enjoying what they're doing. And that's so easy and inexpensive that you can get everything you need to start making killer projects by purchasing a few items at your local Home Depot. MIG welding is not as difficult as you might think, but it can be tough to learn if you don't have the proper training. For example, you need to learn how to set up your machine for welding and the best kind of machine to buy to get started. So, in the next video, I'm going to be talking about how to set up your MIG machine, and the title of this video is MIG Machine Mastery, and you'll learn the easiest and cheapest way to get started. You'll learn the best MIG welder to buy on a budget. You'll learn the necessary tools you will need, and you'll learn how to set up your MIG welder properly. And you don't want to miss this video because it's going to be awesome, I promise you. So please leave your comments below this video, and just remember this is going to be an awesome opportunity to learn how to weld, and especially to learn how to weld with a MIG welder. So once again, please leave your comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.